Yeah, it's just for all the ladies out there. If you a queen, put your crown to the sky. If you a queen, hold your crown to the sky and ride or die. Rep your beauty to the fullest while you in your prime. Grind hard all day, no waste of time. Eye on the prize, head to the sky. Yeah, all my queens out there, keep your head up, put them crowns to the sky.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 2 of Women in Your Neighborhood. I'm Allison Vaughn, your host today, and we also have Miss Adrienne Billings Smith.
Correct.
All right, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having us, and I'm really excited to have a chat with you. You are a woman that wears so many titles and so many roles, but we're gonna start, I think, with the top 2 that I can think of off the top of my head. Number 1, you are the DEI officer for the city of West Hartford.
Yes.
Quite the role. And you also are the vice chair of the Connecticut chapter of the Democratic Party.
Yes.
Is this correct?
Yes.
So let's start there. First of all, how did you get here? And tell us a little bit about you and a little bit about your background.
So that's always an interesting...
loaded question.
Yeah, because we could have the whole episode on how did I get here in this moment. As far as these particular things, the DEI officer for the town of West Hartford, I was on town council and this role popped up, and I had been doing a lot of work in the DEI world, consulting. I started my own organization, Concerned Parents of Color, West Hartford, and we dealt with parents of color and issues of race and mental health and just making sure our children were protected. So that started about 2020, and I applied, and I had enough experience and enough impact in my community to get that position, and I'm really proud to be a part of the organization and to do the work there because it's my home. Yeah, it's what I care about. My children are there, my family's there, so it's a really exciting role. As far as the CT Dems, as I said, I was on town council for the town of West Hartford, and I ended up kind of in politics, same kind of avenue, like all the work, the activism work, the community organizing work. So I ran for town council, and then I started to get deeper into politics. When I got the vice chair role, all my friends from home, I'm originally from Florida, go, that's not surprising.
They saw it coming.
Yeah, they were like, this is all you talk about. So, and I think for me to be in this position, and why it's so important to me is because my grandfather talked to me about politics my entire life. And he made sure that I knew what was going on. So this role, to be the first Black woman in this role, is really important to our community. Sure. And as we were talking about before, our voices need to be heard. What does it look like to be a Black woman in politics? Yeah. There's a lot happening right now with our first, hopefully, our first Black woman president, and the pushback that comes back with us being in those roles of power, to see that and how you navigate that. You want to be at the forefront of it. You don't want to be sitting there screaming, because I did that probably with the rest of the world at some point, screaming on Facebook, what is happening? Yeah. Why aren't you getting Black Lives Matter? Why aren't you understanding my voice when I say, please don't vote this way, or recognize that we're supposed to love each other and you've told me that you love me, but I see you voting in a way. And on top of all that, to be a Black queer woman, all the things, right? So to be in this space now and to represent a party that holds my values.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect party.
Yeah.
There's plenty of work to be done, but that's also great in itself. There's work to be done. Because if you stay stagnant and you're content with everything, then you get lost in the mix. So being in this role, being able to leverage my voice, being able to build capacity in my community and tell them about the importance of voting, of being a part of the process.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
You know,
we all have a part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the system was built against us. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So taking back that power and amplifying our voices is important.
Sure. So you mentioned your grandfather. From what I understand, played such a pivotal role just in your upbringing. You were a military girl, or the tail ends of a military life.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that and how that shaped you as a child, those experiences being with your grandfather. I also was raised with a grandfather in the home, so it's a little bit different. Tell us about that.
So my grandfather was a Vietnam veteran. I came along later in his career. I was born in Minot, North Dakota, which if you're a military person, you know what base that is. And I was able to watch him kind of navigate his world, right? You come from a pretty high and distinguished position in the military, and then having to go into the civilian world, how he presented himself, how he thought about the world, right? Like I said, I'm from the South, so sometimes some of his thoughts about the world would not be accepted today, but you know.
I trust that.
But you know, but 99% of what he taught me was correct. And that is to stand up for yourself, to do right by people, to make the world a better place. So we just, you know, we spend our time fishing, we spend our time arguing. He let me argue with him about politics. Yes. Debate about politics. Don't like argue, but we debated about politics, and he allowed me to find my voice in politics. Growing up in a conservative town, a lot of my friends' parents were conservative, of course, and listening to kind of their experiences and their voice and what they're hearing, what they're putting out into the world, and knowing that I had a strong enough support system that I could put back into the world what my voice was through my family, allowed me to navigate those like relationships as well. So he helped me, you know, figure out who my true friends were. And I still use like what he says today, like about finding your friends and keeping them close.
There was an instance in your childhood, a childhood friend, a brother of your best friend that changed maybe the trajectory of the way you thought about yourself and who you were in this world. I think that along the way, there's always one moment where you're like, I remember this day like it was yesterday. Can you tell us about that story and how it was a little bit drastic, and his character was a little bit different from yours, but tell us about that.
Yeah, so as a child, and we grew up on a military base in Florida part of my life, and moved into another area that was right off the military base. But I had my best friend, Michaela Kella, and
shout out Michaela.
Her brother and her mom, Martha, you know, rest in peace. She was my other mother. I used to call me chocolate cupcake and her vanilla cupcake. So they were my second family. But her brother, he was a little older than us, teenager, going through his own transgressions, and he ended up joining like the skinheads. So they would, you know, be around. But he would always try to protect me. And when I talk to people about that, racism exists everywhere. He was a part of that. He was fully a part of that. That's the people he chose to hang out with. But there was something in him who, in a way that he knew he wasn't right. Because he said the N-word. He said it around me, and then something clicked in him to stop and didn't allow it to be said. When I was a little girl, I was 7, 8. So I just remember, that moment, that recognizing as a 7 or 8 year old, when they say, when you recognize you're Black, right?
Yeah.
When's the first time you realize you're Black? And then I recognized I wasn't like everyone else, because I was sitting in the middle of this weird simulation, I like to call it, that we're in of life. And at that point in my life, and him being a part of, I mean, that's equivalent to KKK.
Absolutely.
That's you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So for him to recognize that his life ended up changing, where he ends up apologizing later in life about it. And his mother hadn't known exactly that happened. And that's a story I put up. And she felt awful, because she loved me like one of her own. And she was trying to get him out of that, because she didn't believe in it. And she was trying to get him out of that space and out of that, you know, if you want to call it a community, because she knew it wasn't right. And he decided to always try to protect me in that. So people have a gut, they have a conscience. And I try to give people the benefit of doubt, but knowing that at 7 or 8 years old, that you can be over here and still is something that you love and you want to protect, and it doesn't match up what you're doing, then you know right from wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that even when folks are in a dark space, they can see light. And you are light, and being a leader, you have to be light. So you recognizing that, at the fortunate or unfortunate age of the 7 years old, that's pretty tender, you know, to be going through those life experiences, but early enough where it changed things for you. And in your later life, early adulthood, you were a big basketball star, won a title or two, a title
conference,
which also just shows the path of leadership. So can you talk to us about what it means to you to be a leader, especially in this state, right? You're a transplant from Florida to here, and you just kind of came in here and took over. You claimed your space, which is a very, very hard thing to do, especially coming from two totally different worlds. But tell us a little bit more about that, how you found your voice and how you found your purpose in this new environment.
Well, it's like Sinead in New York, right? If you can make it in Florida, you can make it anywhere. I think, you know, leadership, I don't know, I believe it comes naturally, and I still believe you have to work toward it. But there were things that happened to me throughout my life. The episode with my best friend's brother, when I moved to a different town that then flipped and was, it was probably 50-50, but I went up there and I talked properly, and I didn't dress the same as everyone. So there was bullying that happened, and me trying to find my voice in all of that. When you're growing up and you have one instance and you move to a totally opposite sort of scenario that happens, you're very confused. And you, like I said, you're trying to find your voice. You're trying to figure out where you belong. So as I, you know, continue on this journey, that's what I hope to be, a person who cares to make people feel as if they belong in a space, no matter who they are, because I know what it felt like. So I think when you're talking about leading folks, you have to be authentic. You have to be confident in your voice, even when it shakes. You have to stick to your morals and your values. And I think that's what has just continued to guide me, because there's plenty of times where, you know, I could have given up. And I just didn't believe in that. And, you know, right now I have a son who's 11, my niece, who I call my other child, is 14. And I want to be that example for them. I think it's so important, you know, that you're giving back to the next generation, of leaders, so that they know if you can do it, they can also do it. And also talking to them and saying, it's not a perfect route. Things are going to happen. And you try to protect them, right? You try to say, this happened to me. So I'm trying to tell you right now, you don't
listen to me.
Right? But you also, like, so we have really, like, genuine conversations about things that happen in my life, you know, names I was called, rumors that were spread, those sorts of things, and how they respond to it, right? If it happens to them or happens to a friend, because you always think back, if someone would have protected you in that moment. And I did happen to have someone who's my my chosen sister who protected me when I was being bullied. And she said that was enough. So when you have those, it's all about the support systems. Being a leader, people define you as a leader. You don't, I don't think anyone, you don't define yourself as a leader. People define you as a leader, but you can't be a leader without a support system, a village, people who are rooting for you, people who are there when you're down. So without them, there's no, none of this.
Yeah, there definitely is not. It's hard to be a one-man band, super tough, especially being a parent as well. It just adds another layer of everything when you have to come home and you have a child that's looking in your eyes, looking for leadership and looking for direction, and knowing that when you're going out into the world, you're being your authentic self, like you said. How is that managing such a heavy workload that you have, and then kind of transitioning immediately once you hit the threshold of home, being a mom? Tell us. Please.
We should have the child tell you. They might have a different story. No, you know what? You talk about these multi-generations that are living. Yeah. I convinced my mom to come and live with my wife and I when I was studying for the bar. So she uprooted her life. She retired from her job and she's been up here ever since. So again, it goes back to your support systems. We're constantly navigating schedules. I will always tell the story about how I've been able to do everything I've done. I got out of college. I went and was a college basketball coach. I decided I didn't want to do that anymore.
Why? Tell us.
So I think that I played it from age 11 and 12 until whatever. And then I jumped right into the heat of it, right?
Did you always know that where you were now is where you were going to be? Or was it around that time where you kind of...
Girl, no.
Okay.
No. I decided, I said, what do I want to do? I was 23 at the time, 22, 23. I was like, what am I going to do? Like, what do I love? And it was the best time, right? That's a perfect time to say, what do you love? And a lot of people don't have that opportunity to do so.
True.
So I was like, well, what do I love from what I'm doing right now? And I was like, I love travel. I love talking to people. I loved recruiting athletes. I love that whole family atmosphere. When you're younger and you start to see the background of everything, right? The politics, now that I'm in freaking politics, right? The politics of it all, the bureaucracy. I honestly say, I don't think I was mature enough in that moment to handle all of that. The transition from college to adult life and living on my own to like all these things were happening because I coached out of state. My first coaching job was at Wagner College in New York, and then I was at Marshall University in West Virginia. So I wasn't, I wasn't. Yeah. So I said I was going to be a flight attendant. So my mom goes, so you're going to leave like our dream, right? That's how she was. You're going to leave our dream.
We talked about this.
And she's like, but she goes, okay. So I did that. I was a flight attendant for 16 years. But in the meantime, I was able to go to law school. And I was like, I'm going to come home. I'm going to go to law school as well. Okay.
I mean, that's quite the jump.
And I think I always knew I was going to be an attorney. At some point, I was like, I'm going to be an attorney no matter what. Whether I stayed coaching or whatever. The attorney thing was always on my radar. I was gonna go to law school. So she said, okay. So I came home, I went to law school. I said, I don't want to live in Florida any longer. She knew I didn't want to live in Florida, so she was definitely knew that was coming. And I was like, but I want you to go with us. And she's like, all right, we're going to go.
For the ride.
I chose to have a child my third year of law school.
Interesting.
That's
adding
so
a lot.
Yeah,
I already busy schedule.
So every step of the way, she never, deterred or told me I couldn't do anything. She always said, okay. When I was running for office, she's like, all right, so we're going to do this. I'm going to start this organization. Really? That's what we're doing? Like, it's in the middle of COVID.
I love it. So we think.
Yeah. It's the middle of COVID. She does everything, she's always there. She's the person that's always by my side. My wife is the same way. But every step of the way, my mom has always said, okay.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of times where people go, you're crazy, you'll never succeed, you'll never. So I've never had that kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And when I say I'm going to do it, my mom's always like, when she says she's going to do it,
she's definitely going to do it.
She's going to do it. So with all this that I'm doing now, I try to have real conversations with them. That's why I'm coaching my son's basketball team at the same time as I'm doing all this, because I want to make sure. I was PTO president while doing all this because I want to make sure that I'm always involved in his life. I never want to miss anything. Sure. So moms make it work. Women make it work.
Yep.
So I just wanted to continue to keep things normal. There are times where he's sitting in a back seat and I'm on a call, some sort of professional call, and he's like, oh, you're putting your political voice on now, right? And so but he knows to be quiet. So she's like, so I mean, just a couple weeks ago, I was on something and he was like, you really like doing this, huh? I was like, yeah, I enjoy it. But he's one of my biggest fans. He watches, everything that comes on TV. He's excited for me. So, when your child's excited for you and not telling you that they don't like you and don't want to be around you, you got to take
that does come from times too.
Yeah, you got to take that win.
Take it while it's So transitioning from all these very different careers, there is a fear or maybe a hesitancy to just kind of jump ship to something completely different. It's a commitment, for lack of a different word, which I can't say that I'd be able to. When you invest, like take for instance your basketball career, that's a hell of a journey to just completely change course. But in that moment, were you always sure of the decision, or was it you were kind of building the plane as you fly it sort of thing? Which is, for me, I'd say in my career, I was kind of like little step, baby step, baby step, baby step, but you kind of just plunged in. So for a woman out there who's maybe mid-career somewhere and perhaps afraid of a change, or maybe unsure of herself, what would be your words of advice to someone like that?
I say, trust your gut, lean on your community, your inner circle, the little one, not the big one, the little one. When you're not happy and you're not satisfied, and it's time to move on because you're not giving the best of yourself. You can't commit because your brain is somewhere else thinking of maybe I should be doing something else. And it's so funny when you talk about me jumping. The little circle knows I love stability.
All of this is the most unstable thing.
Yeah, everyone knows I love stability. I want a stable home. I want a stable career. But I also recognize when I say I'm going to do something, you're getting 100% of me. Yeah. And if I can't give you 100%, I'm not doing either of us any good. Yeah. So I say, really think about it. And some people don't have the opportunity or the resources to do so. But try to find a way to always find something that you love to do. That you love to do. There was a quote, I'm reading Ina Gardner, the Barefoot Contessa's book right now. And she had a quote from George Lucas, and it said, we're all living in cages with the door wide open. And that hit me in such a way of we're all free. Yeah. And we have to figure out how to get out of that, how to take the step out of that
just
cage.
Take the step out.
Yeah.
It's right there. Yeah. It's right there. That's good. That's good. Well, tell us what you're doing these days, what's on your plate, where we can find you, what new projects you're working on right now. So I know it's the height of political season.
For the next 2 weeks, I'm committed to this election and so many elections. But, post-election, just continuing to do my work and, the job that pays me, and trying to build a better community there. Sunday, we had our first annual community block party. My office hosted and community organizations partnered, where we are talking about the times have been tough the last year, right? We're trying to figure out, everyone wants someone to be on a side. Yes. And the world isn't black and white like that. Correct. So what does it look like in true allyship? We will so easily silo ourselves. So we wanted to bring people out, to have a day where they're seeing people who they might not have ever met. So it was a very intentional, It was a very intentional event where when you got there, you got a prompting question. You had something that you had to do so you can meet other people. Hosting those sorts of things, doing the work thing politically, just continue to make sure that we're getting more Black and brown folks involved in politics, the organizational level, just continue to do my work. I'm working with a friend right now on a youth leadership program that we go to and get to teach at an alternative school and do projects with them, bring in speakers. So just trying to keep up with myself.
Yeah.
You know,
it sounds like a lot of the work that you do is connecting people in the communities that they already are in so that they thrive to another level. And it's a representation of how the world really is. Where to your point, it's not just black and white. It's going to take all of us, regardless of what side you're on, what you believe. We're community first.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're really your neighbor.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in every aspect of the word. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I just look very much forward to all the things that are going to come from your way. West Hartford is in good hands. Let me tell you, West Hartford is in great hands. And if I wanted to find you online or on any of your handles, where can I find you?
You can find me pretty much anywhere. Facebook, you can get to me. LinkedIn, it's all by my name, Adrienne Billings Smith. Instagram, that's more family stuff that you see. Twitter is only mostly basketball and politics. So, you know, you can find me anywhere. You can find me, go to the Town of West Hartford website, and my door is always open. My phone is always on. So I'm always available, and people come in for pretty much anything. I get the wildest questions, and, you know, and I still try to figure out, I'm solution oriented. I don't believe that any challenge can't be, you know, navigated.
Agreed.
So.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you all for listening. And please tune in for our next episode. Take care now. Bye.
Sometimes life just happens. Don't worry. Farmington Motorsports will get you back on the road and at a fair price. From towing to tires, emissions to transmissions.
Our ASC certified techs do it all.
Farmington Motorsports is a family-run business. We're a Napa Auto Center and AAA approved. We work on all makes and models from preventative maintenance to major repairs.
And every repair is backed by our 2-year, 24,000-mile nationwide warranty.
When life happens to you, don't worry. Farmington Motorsports.